Hello, welcome to another episode of Voices from the Hill. I'm State Senator Michael Rodrigues, and I'm honored to be joined by my good friends, my colleagues, my partners in government, the State House delegation from Fall River. We have Representative Carol Fiola from the 6th Bristol District, Representative Alan Sylvia from the 7th Bristol District, and Representative Paul Schmid from the 8th Bristol District. So we're all here, we're all excited. It's November, the weather's changing, it's getting cooler. Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas is around the corner.
55 days. We're 55 days away.
Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. Can we believe it?
A little less than 2 months to Christmas.
You know, it's been wonderful the last month or so. What's that, Paul?
Speaking of the weather, Senator, I'm so glad you gave me an opportunity. No, I just wanted to point out that it has been the most remarkable season for corn, and I hope that all of our viewers have had a chance to support our local agriculture.
And that corn grown in Westport, I understand, is the most tasty of all the corn around.
I'm glad you said that. But you're right, the season is changing, but it's been a heck of a year.
People at home are going to think this was planned. We had no idea Paul was going to pull the corn out. I'm worried that he's going to come up with oats and pumpkins.
Yeah.
You never know what he's going to do.
Not to be outdone by our bogs in Freetown, Asonet, Paul, right? And not to be outdone by our gardens in Fall River. It was a good season for growing, and that's a great point to enjoy our farmers markets, and they're still out there, and to enjoy the locally grown produce.
Yes,
Excellent point.
I think there'll be a farmers market that goes on during the winter, won't there?
Usually at the Bank Street Armory in Fall River.
Is that where they do it?
Yeah, she does a nice job over there.
So that's a wonderful opportunity to keep eating turnips and potatoes and
Macumber turnips.
Macumber turnips from where?
From Westport,
There
the
you
best.
go.
And Little Compton. We have to give our friends in Rhode Island a little.
No, we don't. No.
The only place you can buy Macumber turnips, and they are the best. They are wonderful.
Yeah, they are so sweet.
So it's been exciting. We've been very, very busy at the State House, and our newest colleague who's jumped in with both feet in learning every day. I mean, talk about baptism by fire to come in a special election right when we're entering a very busy time in session. And Representative Fiola, tell us, what do you think for the first month or so on the job? And
Well, you're about the 200th person who's asked me that. And everyone who's asked me, the first thing that comes to mind is I say, I really haven't had time to stop and think about anything because we're just going. Actually, no, it's really remarkable. These guys here to my left and right are really the only ones that understand what goes on every day, the plethora of information that is provided to us as legislators is amazing. I think what happens is the people out in our community have been welcoming in terms of sharing what their needs and their programs are that get funding from the state. So I've been busy meeting with local organizations and people at the State House. As you know, we've had meetings all the time. There's not a lack of information, but what has been exciting is to sit down with organizations. We've sat down with our superintendent, with the delegation. We sat down with the Freetown Lakeville superintendent. We've sat down with people, Nancy from Bristol Elder Services to understand those programs. Sat down with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm sitting down with People Incorporated. I've sat down daily with different organizations to understand the services they offer our constituents so that I'm better versed in helping our constituents. And it's just been, yesterday was the Senior Sweetheart Pageant, so we're able to be asked to be engaged in events that go on in our community beyond what we normally would be. And you are used to that every day, but it's been positive. I've also been, attending the caucuses in Boston, as you know. And a caucus, for those who are listening and viewing, they're amazing because they focus in on a topic or an area of interest. We were at caucuses for DCR, Division of Conservation Resources, and talking about in our community the Heritage Park, the Bioreserve, other places. There are caucuses for all interests and legislators get together in those caucuses and have extra time to talk about those interests. And so I've been thrilled, whether it's the Women's Caucus, the Manufacturing Caucus, the Gateway Cities Caucus. You know, this group here is active. It's not just me. I'm giving you the update because this is like a test for me for these guys. But there's no lack of information.
You passed with flying colors. You got an A+ from us.
And you know, we were joking before we went on air, but we said we're not allowing Representative Fiola to watch TV yet because there's no time. There isn't any time. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be with all you folks and to do this, but I'm always eager to let people know, as you mentioned, all of those groups we meet with. We meet with our superintendent every month where, you know, we just had that meeting with Meg Mayo Brown, the Chamber of Commerce, the People Incorporated you mentioned, you know, Senator, you know, as we meet with these folks, and a lot of that we've done together, and as we do that, it constantly brings about new endeavors and new concerns. We were just mentioning briefly about how we're changing from MCAS to POCS. It's a new program from the MCAS testing to a system called POCS, and that we were able to get that included in our supplemental budget, which $38 million. That's going to help all of ours. It's going to help the Fall River School District, because you have to be internet connected to be involved in that testing. So
infrastructure has to be in place.
Right. So now every school in Fall River will be able to be involved in the POCS testing, where there are many communities that will not be able to do that testing because of that reason. So it's something that, you know, we can all be proud of for doing that and getting that underway. And I know, Senator, you've been working with some new grant that came from the Senate regarding our police department, and to be able to $635,000 or close to that. That's going to add more police on. I mean, we're all involved in those interests and getting public safety to be where it should be. But I love this show because it gives us an opportunity to reach out to people and to let them know what's going on, what we do for 12 and 14 hours a day.
Well, it's funny, Rep. Sylvia, it wasn't too long ago you were the rookie on the block.
I know
mean,
that.
You've got less than a term under your belt, and you're already the senior statesman.
I'm liking it. I'm liking that, except I'm learning an awful lot. I have to say this, Representative Fiola is a go-getter, and I know that you know that.
Yeah.
She just doesn't sit back and go, well, whatever. She asks the questions, and is not shy about going after the things that we need to get done. I've seen her in caucus, in the Democratic caucus. I've seen her in action already in the State House, going from rep to rep to rep. And you know we get a lot of things done in that room when we're reaching out to other reps from other communities, especially when some people are not as concerned about the things we need in the South Coast. You know, they're all concerned about MBTA and those kinds of things. We mentioned South Coast Rail, and they think that we have two heads, but we're making our mark, and we're doing that together. You know, it's always nice, as you know, Representative Schmidt, to be able to be together on these, because together as a team, we get a hell of a lot more done, and boy, we do it.
And Rep. Schmidt, you're the dean of the delegation now, so as the dean, as the elder statesman on the House side.
We have a very strong delegation, Senator, and the term dean means the person with the longest time in service. So it's in that sense that I am the dean. But I got to tell you, with my colleagues here, we all work together. I'll take a lead on this. Representative Sylvia will take a lead on something else. Representative Fiola very quickly showing that she can take a lead. And I don't know whether you want to talk at this meeting or at a later meeting about some of the work you're doing on housing. I wanted just to take a moment and give a shout out, a couple of words of support for our remarkable school superintendent, Mayo Brown. We have, as you mentioned, we've had an opportunity to meet with her, and we'll continue to do that on a regular basis. And we've also, Representative Fiola and I this morning had an opportunity to meet with the acting superintendent over at the Freetown Lakeville Regional Schools. And the more you learn about education, number one, you realize how important it is. Number two, you come to find out there are so many balls that a superintendent has to be able to carry in the air, and you realize how important leadership is. And I just think we've got a remarkable leader in Superintendent Mayo Brown, and
I agree.
I think it's universal
Yes, it
amongst
is.
us, and there's some great things happening in the Fall River school system.
you were just there today.
Yeah, I was mentioning that today was the pep rally for a program called the Massachusetts Math and Science Initiative, and we all secure money in the state budget for matching grants to communities. And Durfee High School is in its 5th year of a 5-year grant program aimed at not only encouraging high school students to enter AP classes, but helping them become successful in those classes. And we went from 2009, before this program started, with 28 students at Durfee High School enrolled in AP classes, to today, 162 people enrolled in AP classes. And not only are they enrolled, but there are 3 extensive 6-hour full-day Saturday sessions to help the students prepare for their AP exams, because if they score a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP exam, these are national exams that high school seniors take, then they can get college credit for that particular program. So the AP English exam means that that student would not have to take English 101 in college. Same thing with the math exam. They would not have to take Calculus 101 or whatever the particular program is. So to go and to see these students and to see the results and the statistics, you just wish that information, everyone had that information at their fingertips, because it's just tremendous.
Absolute strides. As I mentioned before the show, one of my daughters graduated in 2008 and was one of those 28 students that participated.
Yeah.
However,
Congratulations.
Thanks, but however, it wasn't a pulled together program enough at that time. It required intensive retraining of some of the staff as well as the students' preparation. And in an urban community, we need that boost. We need that extra support. We know that. We're different than a Dover or a Sherborne.
And now
other
the challenge
communities.
is upon us, because, as I said, this is the last year of a 5-year grant. They have very limited funding, and they have 120 schools in their queue that want to get involved in this program. We are lucky that Durfee was once the first schools that they came to partner with. So now we need to step in. Us in the Fall River community, it's probably about $20,000 program for to support this program. I think our community can come up and raise that money.
And to do that, you know, I know Representative Schmidt mentioned the leadership, and you know, we have some great folks that are in the schools, and as we visit particular schools, we see, you know, these folks are there at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have students that are being transferred. You know, Representative Fiola and Representative Schmidt and I, we met with Meg about a week and a half ago, and we had some statistics, and you know, with all of what we're saying, and Senator, you mentioned how well we're doing, but in spite of some of the current situations we have, poverty, obviously Fall River, we more than double the state average of unemployment. Educational attainment, of course, is much lower than most parts of our state. 75%, I was shocked when we heard this number, 75% of our public school students are receiving subsidized lunch, which means that those families, many of them are living in poverty.
At or below the
And
poverty
it's a real concern. I know that
You know, and many parents and families are qualified, but they won't accept it.
right.
Yeah,
They won't accept it. So if it's 75% is the posted
yeah, it's 80
number,
some.
it's
No,
you
no.
know it's significantly higher.
24% are on special needs programs, and that's very costly to a district where other districts may not have it that high. 24 to 25, I may be off a percentage. English is not their #1 language spoken at home. So in spite of all these challenges that we as a Fall River school system face different than other suburbs, and I speak to our reps. You said I talk to the other reps, and I do, and I ask them about their communities. We have challenges, but as you said, we see our teachers getting up and getting to work so early in the morning and working late.
Doing the
Those
extra.
parking lots are full.
I was shocked with the extra, and some of them are there till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. And people say, well, of course they're paid. And I read in the paper they want to do an incentive to have teachers show up to work. But that's a minority of folks. But because they're working, they're there working hard, and I can't say enough. Recently, I went to the Viveris school. The governor was down. We went down to Cuss, notice those people. They're out there, and we have bad traffic situations over there at the Viveris with Slade Street and Dwelly Street with dropping kids off. Public safety concern. That's why I was there at 7 o'clock with Ken Pacheco to look at some of that. Mass in Motion, Julie Kelly. But, which brings up another point, and I know you've taken a big interest, and we're all concerned about, why Fall River is the place where we're getting so many. And I know that we'll talk more about this in the future, but we have a large percentage of folks, demographics have changed completely in our city over the past 10 years. And we have all concerns about why so many, the large influx. Listen, we want our doors open to everyone in the community, but we have this incredible influx of people coming from Brockton and Chelsea and New York, and
Well, we know
it's
that
putting a
statewide.
stress.
You're right, Alan. And you said I was interested because it's something that I saw over the last year, and we talked about it briefly the last time we were on, and we'll continue to have this conversation because what it does is we are seeming to. The homeless issue is a big issue statewide. It's an epidemic. We talk about a lot of problems. It is. So we're seeing and hearing more about homeless people and being placed in motels and hotels and such because it's busting at the seams. And that's a problem. At the same time, what we're seeing in a city like Fall River is an extraordinary number, it appears, because we keep hearing that people are coming in, they're being bused, they're being dropped, there's billboards everywhere. What I've decided to do, and we've talked about this, and you're supporting, we're talking about it, our efforts working together, is understanding just what those numbers are and how it's happening and why it's happening. Why does it appear that people keep getting directed? Homeless and distressed families are getting directed to Fall River, and the concern there is multiple. I've spoken to the police chief, spoken to the superintendent, I speak to the teachers, and finding out that it's putting an added strain on the services that we have in a community that is already busting
That's right, we can't-
economically. So we're sending what appears to be, and I'm getting those numbers. I've sat down with the Undersecretary of DHCD. I'm sitting down this week with the Executive Director of the South Shore Housing, the agency that directs these programs like the home-based program and those programs, so I can understand the numbers, what's happening here, because that became the number one question, whether I'm speaking to public safety, teaching, etc. But the thing is, you're sending extraordinary numbers, or so it seems, and we'll have those numbers, to a community that already has one of the highest unemployment rates. So do we really believe that we're going to be able to find jobs for additional 100 families or 200 families? It just seems like a puzzle that I'm not sure is fitting together.
With an unemployment rate that's up around 12 to 15%, no, we're not going to be able to.
But you know
And
what's worse? Yeah,
we
go
just commend you
Yeah.
for wanting to get to the bottom of this. We hear
thank
so
you.
many anecdotes, and how do you know what's true and what isn't? But
And we
you're
want-
going to get the facts.
And we want to do something about it, and I'm glad we're going to be working on that because people want those answers too. I hear people come to me and say, "Why are we the dumping ground?" And I hate to say that because you don't want to think of people as being dumped, but why Wellesley wouldn't take that? Newton, would they want that influx? All those folks living in hotels in Somerset that they're complaining about in Somerset are going to come to Fall River.
Listen,
That's the problem.
There's a human issue here, and that is there's a homeless crisis in our Commonwealth. And that needs to be looked at, and how we help with that. At the same time, and I even had an executive director say, "You're absolutely right. It's a problem." And I think, and I'll use this little analogy that was told to me once, and we talked about this. If an agency has so much money to help people, and you've got $1,500, and you can send 2 families to Fall River and 1 to Cape Cod, you're going to send 2 families to Fall River if you're that agency. And that isn't the summation of this problem, but it's another piece of this
Yeah,
puzzle.
certainly is.
So I'm gathering information. I'll give a report every time we meet. And maybe it's time for other communities to shoulder more of a share of helping the people in our Commonwealth instead of just relying on Fall River that has been taxed again and again. And I don't mean financially taxed, I mean taxed public service, public safety, education. So we want to help people, and there's no doubt about it.
I mean, it's perfect
We're
timing.
helping, it seems we're helping more, so.
It's perfect timing too, because right now, you know, we're obviously people. This is airing Thanksgiving. This is going to be shown in homes, and we're all concerned about. But you know, you look at the soup kitchens, and I was talking to people at Citizens for Citizens yesterday. Barbara Travis, I ran into her at Stop and Shop. Over the past week, 58 new people came in to get food. New people to come in to get food in the food kitchen. We have more food kitchens. I'm going to use this analogy because I just wrote about it. It's going to be an op-ed piece, but we have more food pantries than we have Dunkin' Donuts. That's not funny. And we have hundreds of people standing in line.
Not funny, it's hard to believe because there's a Dunkin' Donuts on every corner.
That's right.
Right.
And
Yep.
there is, you know,
Yep.
there's so
Yep.
many.
Wow.
This is a season with Thanksgiving where we,
Good
you know, we
analogy.
we thank the Almighty for what we all have. And I see people in our district that is suffering. They're suffering, you know, and it concerns me that, and we're talking about people coming here. But we're taking on this burden, and it's a huge burden. You know, the stress on our police, our schools. How much can we take? We have to somehow spread this burden around. And I'm so glad that you've jumped out with starting to grab those statistics. I try to jot them down every time we talk, but I know eventually we'll have a sheet where we can look and see. What you know, just the 10. The percentage of people, we heard that 63% are only white in Fall River. That's 10 percentage point difference. You know, the population of Asian, Black, and Puerto Rican, of Hispanic. That's numbers have changed when we look at that in 10 years.
Rep. Sylvia, you mentioned Barbara Travis. Am I not right that she is not doing her
That's correct.
annual Christmas show this? I believe that she's not doing the
first time.
annual Christmas show this year, and so she's going to be reaching out to folks in the community and asking for their support directly. And I just think we ought to all
That was a
recommend.
tradition, really a tradition in Fall River, her Christmas telethon. Countless years, I can't count how many years I would go on and appear on the
Have to be at least
television.
25.
And a
That's
very
what we
important
are.
source of funds. So when you folks get a request from them, Citizens for Citizens, hopefully
Well-
you'll remember the holiday season and support this very needy group.
Yes.
Thank you, Rep. Now, we've talked a lot of, you know, we talked education, we talked housing, we talked poverty. I know, Rep. Sylvia, you want to talk a little bit about healthcare informational
Yes.
program you have coming up?
I'll read it. I went over briefly. I didn't have a chance to really get into any detail with Representative Schmidt. This is new. This is hot off the press.
I'm hearing it at the same time everyone else is hearing it.
Healthcare for All is offered to come to our community because we're not part of the connector, and this is through the Affordable Care Act. So I've invited them to come down to the South End neighborhood meeting where we can gather a large group, and of course our delegation right here will sponsor this, and we'll have them come down and talk about the connector and how the Affordable Health Care Act affects all of them. This is not Medicare, this is not for seniors. These are all the other folks who will be reaching out trying to get health coverage if they're not on already Mass Health or getting other coverage. So It's going to benefit a lot of people. It's going to be the 2nd of January at 6:30 p.m. So, of course, next month as we get closer to this, we'll do something more public.
Yeah, and your neighborhood meetings are always televised.
Always televised,
So-
and we're happy that Forever Media is able to do that. Steve Camara and the staff here, they do a great job. I always like to give them a plug while we're on.
Yeah, don't forget
because
Keith, the whole team.
Yes,
That's right. Yeah.
that crew that's in that studio.
tremendous.
And people, and I know lots of people don't see this down here, but BCC, where this operation comes from, where we do this, is so professional. I mean, it's, you know, I came in this morning and I saw Senator Rodrick in the green room getting his makeup on so that he
takes
could
me
be
an
here. So this is, I'm just kidding, folks. There's no green room, but it is very professional. And I know we look better at home because of Representative Fiola. We already know that. They've already voted as one of the best-looking delegations. You know,
Really, huh?
we didn't have that distinction.
That happened last month.
That just happened
yeah.
last month because we were down on the bottom level of the rung before you came.
Now we're going to be the one who brings home the most bacon. Is
Yes,
that what we're saying?
that's what we want.
We had a lot of great things on the horizon.
And I think, Representative,
This is
this is wonderful because we've heard and been reading about a lot of glitches in the computer
Yes.
system to enroll in so-called Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Our offices have been inundated
Close.
with constituents relative to unemployment insurance claims, and I think it's the greatest debacle in my
is.
17 years in the State House when they enrolled or began rolling out that you can only apply for and access your unemployment insurance benefits online with nobody. It's been nothing but
awful.
a nightmare.
It's awful.
I know this show is taped and it'll be aired in November, but today the Senate Post Audit Committee is having an oversight meeting.
Good.
And I'm not there, unfortunately. I'm here, but my one of my staff people who have been. She has a dozen names. We've already settled dozens upon dozens of cases, but it's for those out there in the listening audience. We know that if, unfortunately, you have to apply for unemployment insurance and trying to get through that system, it's been nothing but a nightmare. We hear you. We're working on it, and hopefully we can get some fixes for it.
And you know, this healthcare affordable, these folks from Healthcare for All, they're the experts, and they do know. And as we get closer to this date, so it's going to be a great benefit to all our
I'm meeting with him
constituents.
next week, so I'll
Good.
have some added information
Yeah.
for my constituents as well, and direct them to the event.
This Matt Noyes, that's who you're going to be meeting with. He's got some great thoughts, and they're putting a package together that's second to none. And the other thing, you know, and I know we're all proud of this, but the more I know about our Commonwealth, the more I know what we're doing in this Commonwealth for healthcare, with a stabilization monies that we have already set aside, over $1 billion, only 4 states in the country. I'm proud that we're ahead of the curve in Massachusetts.
You know, and we only have less than a minute left, but let me just leave my comments with, we just completed what's called the efficiency budget. We finally put FY13 to bed. We paid all the old bills, and now FY13's in the rearview mirror. We ended FY13, couple statistics. We have the 3rd highest stabilization fund in the country, behind only Texas and Alaska.
Yes.
Both have a little resource known as oil.
Yeah.
We have the highest bond rating in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts history. And we had the smallest deficiency budget since the Great Depression, since the 1930s. The amount of money that we've been adequately funding and budgeting for the Commonwealth. I thank you all. It's time to go, and you know, thank you all for
It
seeing.
was
you
wonderful. Where does this time go? You know, we never lack anything to talk about, that's for sure, because we're all talking heads. We don't stop.
Yeah.
It was great. And
Yes, you are.
Speak for yourself, Representative Sylvia.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
I think you had a couple cups of coffee
Thank you,
today,
our
Alan. And to our veterans,
And to our veterans.
absolutely.
Thank you all
Yeah,
very
you guys
much.
are doing the
Yeah, good
Valor
point.
Act. That's good. It's a good
Yes.
bill.
Yeah,
It's a good bill.
that's tomorrow.